Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. Delynn Miller joining us here again, our co-founder of Pursuit Institute, and as an executive leadership coach. She joins us again to talk more about her work as a consultant, as a coach, and of course, to really get you on the ball, living that dream life that you deserve, that you want to live, taking you step by step to create success. So welcome to the show today. How are you?
Hello, Jill. Happy to be back.
Live from Barbados. I'm jealous.
Live from
But this
Barbados.
woman and her husband and her family picked up and they moved out of the United States, went to Barbados, living the dream. And everyone could do it. Maybe that's not your dream, your goal, but anything is possible. And she's
Right.
firm, proof and living proof that this does exist. So tell us a little bit
That's
about
right.
what you do at Pursuit Institute and how we can reach you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to pursuitinstitutecc.com. I work with the most amazing school of coaches that we all have all of our different niches in order to meet people where they're at. Because what we find is typically people will go, oh, I need help with my business. I want to learn to lead. But then it's also the reason I'm not doing that is because I have trauma, or I'm now like, it's because I'm a mom and I have competing priorities, or it's really because I'm burnt out. And it's like, don't worry about it. There's honestly, between all of us, we have you covered. And at the end of the day, how you achieve one goal is how you achieve all of them. But it can feel so overwhelming initially. So this is what really got me into this industry over a decade ago, was feeling burnt out myself, not having clarity, not trying to be a jack of all trades, master of none, and becoming a mom myself for the first time. And I was going like, what the heck is, like, there's no way that life is supposed to feel this hard. And I just feel like I'm in this total rat race. This is a gong show. I'm done with this.
Gong
And
show. Oh, I love that
like,
show.
honestly, bing. Yeah, like it's not supposed to feel this way. So that's what really got me checking my whole existence, and definitely proving. I mean, Barbados is just one of the things that I've done that anybody can do, because anybody has access to it. But it's only the fact that we're just so in the habit of doing what we've always done, and our belief in ourselves, that just stops us cold dead in our tracks, right? And we find, and we go, but Delynn, I hear this all the time, Delynn, I'm getting results. And it's like, okay, but how much more could you do it again? Right. And
Yeah.
what people have a hard time with is they go, no, like I have a great job, and my marriage is great, and I'm growing my business, and I've got this team, and I've got this, and I'm like, okay, well, could you do it again? And they're like, well, what do you mean, could I do it again? Well, could you do it again? Like, or did your life just happen to be that way? And they're like, oh, well, it just kind of happened. Okay, well, then you couldn't do it again, which also means it's not sustainable. It also means that any moment it could, boom, be gone. And what would you do? What would you do if everything that you thought was roses right now was all of a sudden gone? Oh, well, I don't
Wow.
know what I would do. Okay, well, that's not very sustainable yet, is it? Right? So
No.
it's right, exactly. So what I love to teach people and remind people is that you can live this life consciously. Like, you can if you think you have amazing results right now, could you imagine what you could do if you actually did it consciously versus just, oh, well, it just ended up this way? And if you can get your life to a point where it just didn't end, like it was very intentionally laid out the way you wanted it to be, if all of a sudden something shift and the market changed, or the sky fell, or whatever we think is going to happen that we're so scared of, right? If all of that happened, I would just create it again. And I would just be happy in this, or I would find joy in this, or I would whatever, right? And it actually just popped up on my Facebook memories. I love Facebook memories. And by the way, guys, follow me
Totally.
over on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, all the spots, okay? But it popped up on my Facebook memories, and I reshared it this morning. It was us 2 years ago, and I was having a yard sale. And by the way, I don't love yard sales. I'm not gonna lie. Like this, it was honestly, after I finished that day, I was like, and never doing this again in my life. But
Mhm.
some people love it. You might be listening right now being like, I love yard sales.
And
I'm
I
not that guy. So
I
I'm not, I
don't.
can't do it.
I've recently discovered a Facebook Marketplace, so I've been like selling some of the really good like unused like toys or like new toys and stuff like. So my
Yeah,
kids, I'm learning, teaching them how to sell, but
yeah.
I couldn't handle the yard sale. Too much junk.
No. Yeah, no. So like that, I didn't have the patience to put everything on Facebook. So I was just like literally threw everything out my driveway when I hadn't already donated and was like, just come and basically take it. Like I don't really even care at this point. But I had felt inspired to go live, right? I'm in the middle of a yard sale. I feel inspired to go live. And my message was about how I had been on this journey about and realizing as I was packing up, because we had this like big 5-bedroom house. We had lived in it for a dozen or so years. So like you accumulate a lot
Oh,
over that time. And I realized as I was walking through my house, I was going, this stuff owns me. I don't own it. Like this stuff literally is like, oh, I worked really hard. I remember having to like buy that TV and I worked really hard and upgraded to that sofa
yep,
and remember these things like and they were things, but like they owned me. That it wasn't the other way around. And it was that moment where I went, wait a sec,
yeah,
like all of this stuff that I've
yeah.
accumulated, I've allowed to come in, like everything in all of our houses, right? We either bring them in or we allow other people to bring them in, but they defined who I was,
So
right?
true. Yep.
And the moment, like what I loved about this memory was it was that moment where I was like, everybody come just take it. Like if you feel you need it or you can use it or whatever. And I remember sitting down with even my kids at that time, and they would have been 8 and 10 when we moved to Barbados, and having this conversation with them. And I mean, anybody who has kids in that age range, they're kind of growing out of, the doll houses and that kind of stuff, but they're still really attached to their things, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Correct.
sitting down and having the conversation with them around, yes, these things bring us joy, but they don't define who we are. Like they're not the reason we're here. We're the reason they're here. Right. And
So true.
it totally changed the vision of how I decided to do things. So I reposted it again this morning and I still stand by it because now after living in Barbados, literally like, I mean, we have malls and stuff here, but they're not like North American malls, like at all. And we have a Costco and all the things, but it's very
I
much
didn't know
it's
you had Costco. I'm really excited now when I
I know,
visit. Okay, guys, sorry.
I know. So I'm going like we have those things, but it's been total like, and I thought I was a minimalist before. But it's a big reminder of when you clear out the noise, aka for me, it was the stuff.
Yeah.
It was just all the stuff. Like, and I encourage everybody to do this. This is why Marie Kondo, or I think that's her name, like she did such big things when she had her show, right? Because she
Yeah.
was teaching everybody how to clear everything out because there's an energy that you have attached to all the things. And when you actually look at it and go, okay, well, would I die for that thing? No, I wouldn't. Okay, well, then I guess it's got to go, right? And it's amazing what we attach ourselves to. And what it does is it distracts us from where we're actually meant to go.
So
Like,
true.
and it might be a thing, like that's an example of like, well, that's all the things that were in my house. But I mean, it could easily be you're distracted by your job right now, even though it's a job, it's not what you're actually here to do. You're just doing it because it just fell into your lap, right? Or,
It's not what you
you know,
truly love, but you
that's
should.
right.
We need to
You're
start, as you
distracted.
mentioned, you got to identify those values, those goals, and start setting this action plan and putting into effect. How do we do this? How do you
Well,
start by clarifying your each and own, your values and priorities?
yeah, and this is where a lot of people go, okay, I have to have the plan, but always understand everybody, and this is the sustainable part
Yeah.
of building out your best life is you're always going to set a plan based on your current level of awareness. Okay. So like I know when this goes out to all the parents out there. So when I was pregnant with my first daughter, I had no idea what to expect. Okay, no idea. It was kind of like building my first business. I was like, I have no idea what to expect, how this is going to go. So I read every book, right? Like, think of whether you're a parent or an entrepreneur, think of how many books you've read on how it's supposed to go down, and you go in, and basically everything I had planned, Izzy unplanned. Like, she from the moment she decided to come into this world, she was like,
Yeah.
listen, dude, we're doing this on my terms, is basically. And 12 years later, I've established that it's very much still that way. And so when I found out I was pregnant with my second daughter, I was just like, you know what? I stressed myself out last time on my plan, and it didn't even, nothing I had prepared even did anything. I'm going to let it be this time around. And you see parents do this with their, like, I have some friends that have like 4 or 5, 6 kids, and they're just like, oh, by the time that one comes around, you're just like, and I decided to take that mentality with my second, because I'm
Uh,
like, you know what? I had a 2 and through motto. So I was like, okay, we're done after this one. So I'm just going to like let it be. And what an awesome experience it was. So when I built out when I decided to become an entrepreneur, I built out a business, and I very much was like, this is my plan. This is what I'm doing. Blah, 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 blah. It was very much like my first pregnancy. I was like, this is how it's going to go. And it felt very rigid. And what happened was I ended up like boxing myself in more than not. Okay. And so the moment, with that first business, the moment I just started kind of taking on the mentality that I did with my second pregnancy of, oh, I'm just gonna like there's my plan and then there's the plan. I'm just gonna like let the plan kind of take over, and I'm gonna like follow my intuition more on this, and stop following like what the book says. And it felt better, and I got better results. I'm like, that's amazing. So when I decided to build out my second business, and I kind of like my second pregnancy, just let it flow, followed my intuition, just was going, okay, less logical Linda, um, less of her, and more just, let's just be in it, have fun, enjoy, and like watch it grow, set a plan, set goals for it, but just let them be. It was incredible. It was incredible. But I spent more time trying to control everything. And the moment I released control, it was an absolute game changer. So
uh,
there you go. For my fellow recovering control freaks out there, and you're like, Delynn, just even letting go of control makes me want to vomit. I promise you, when you start embracing that, oh, your life will feel so much better. And even I feel it like in my body, and like I don't feel so tense. Maybe it's just all this island life, but I'm like, oh, no
yeah.
problem. We're good. This is great. And the results just come in. It's awesome.
Amazing. Well, we
Yeah.
love speaking with you. I love how you're helping people transform and go live the life that they want to live. How can we contact you before we continue?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go to, I have a website too, DelynnMiller.com. And on there, you can download my app. It's called Pursue You. And you can also grab my book. So I wrote a book. It's called You Can't Mess This Up. And you can grab it there as well. And we actually talk about this in the book. We talk about specifically the be, do, have mentality. If you want something to be sustainable, and I know we've talked about this before, Jill, but it really comes down to not focusing on what you're going to have, but knowing that the have is the effect. So if everything's cause and effect, every action has an equal or opposite reaction. If you want to have something, you have to understand that there's like 2 major steps that happen before that
Okay.
98% of humans aren't willing to do, right? So the 2 steps are, you first have to be the person before you even have it. Okay. And this is where people go, I feel like I'm just faking it, fake it till they make it. But that's not true. You literally just you have to in your mind create that person. You have to become that person. Then you'll do what they do instead of what you've always been doing. And then you'll have different results. But it's kind of this like cycle that we put ourselves in, where we typically think from our current results. We go, okay, well, currently I have $5 in the bank account, even though I desire 500 or $5 million. Okay. Well, I currently have $5.
Yeah.
So then those results then dictate, well, now I'm going to think, oh, from a $5 mindset, that I'm going to take $5 actions. Then I'm going to, right, that's going to set up a $5 belief, which is going to give me $5 more, another $5. And then we get pissed off with ourselves. We're like, man, why did I only get another $5? I've been doing all the things for 5 million. And it's like, but you're not, because you're currently thinking from what you have. So if you can go, okay, well, who would $5 million me be? Who would she be? Who would she be hanging out with? I can guarantee she wouldn't be hanging out with half the people that you're hanging out with right now, because they don't have the results, right? But a lot of times we start taking advice from people that don't even have the results, right? Like, it doesn't mean we don't
So
love them,
true.
right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's honestly like taking accounting advice from your grade 12 accounting teacher.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is my accounting teacher. Yeah, but if you want to become a millionaire, I can guarantee this guy's not going to be teaching you how to do it.
Yeah.
Right? You have to start surrounding yourself
With
and it's with people.
like-minded people. Mm-hmm.
And even people are scared to hang out with people that are a few steps ahead of them. They're like, oh, they might think I'm
Intimidated, they
no.
might. Uh-huh.
Right. Well, that's what they think. But really, the person that's 2 steps ahead of you is going, buddy, I remember being where you are, and guess who I was hanging out with? Not people that were getting the same results that I was getting. It'd be like me taking relationship advice from my 3-time divorced cousin, Wendy, right? Like, why would I take a marriage advice from her? That's the most ridiculous thing ever. Or why would I take, like, my doctor, it like in North America, no word of a lie, the guy was like 600 pounds. Okay. And every time I went to the doctor, I was just like, why am I even here? Like, I just need a doctor's note to go back to work. If I didn't need this note from you, I
Yeah.
would not be here, because it just felt so like, why am I taking health advice from you? Like, this
Yeah.
is ridiculous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you don't take health advice from that. You don't take relationship advice from that. You don't take money advice from the person that's not getting it. And chances are you're hanging out with people that have the exact same
Yeah.
beliefs as you do, because you attracted that in, right? So like your friends, they're all making the same amount of money as you are, and you guys have normalized it. You're like, woo, we're all making 60 grand a year, high five all around, right? But really, you might be going, I want to make 600, or I want to
Mm-hmm.
make 100. Okay, well then start going to hang out with some people that are making 100K, because the only reason you don't have is because you're not thinking 100K thoughts, you're thinking 60K thoughts, and then they're being reinforced by your 60K friends, which there's nothing wrong with
No.
that,
Uh-huh.
but you're not going to, it's not like serving you, right? So it's not that you need to, it scares people when I say that sometimes, because they're like, what do you mean I need to drop on my friends? I'm like, no. You just also need to go, when they start having the money doesn't grow on trees conversation, or it's normal to be miserable in my marriage, or it's normal to be overweight, or it's normal to be blah, blah, blah. When they start having those conversations, you need to get out. You
Yeah.
can't be sitting in that. You let them, you're not here to change them. They have their conversations. You do you. But I'm going to go hang it over here where people, they love money. They love money, and it's not an accident that they actually have it. And these people love to be healthy, right? Like, we owned health clubs in Canada for
Yeah.
years. And a lot of times people would come to the gym and they wouldn't even necessarily be working out. They'd hang out there for 3 hours, and they'd be like, they might have went on the treadmill for 30 minutes, and then they might have lifted some weights over here. But most of the time they just wanted to be in the atmosphere. They're
Social.
like, right. It's social, but it's also like, I'm hanging out with people that they're in a high frequency. They want to get healthier. They have a desire, right? Versus like, outside of a gym, it's a totally different mentality of how, particularly in, I mean, North America, where I come from, thinks about health, right? So
Yeah.
it's a totally different way. And it's like, if you want to get healthy, go intentionally hang out in those spots, even when you're uncomfortable. Like, I remember, like, when Dave and I first got together, I wasn't in the habit of like I played sports and stuff growing up, and like danced, but I never went to gyms, right? Well, he had already owned a gym. He bought his first gym at like 18, right?
Oh my gosh.
So by the time him and I met when he was 22, he was like, oh, let's go work out together. And I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so weird. I don't hang out
Aw,
in gyms. Like, this is really
yeah.
weird. And, but when I got probably the first 6 months that I was there, I felt uncomfortable and I would go anyways. So this is where I would encourage everybody. Like, if you're going, I want to go hang out with that group of people at work so that I can lead like they lead. Like, I want their results, or I want to go hang out at a gym so I can get those health results, or I want to go hang out with this group of people that like
Yeah.
actually love their spouses and want to stay married or whatever. Like, that's what I want,
Yeah.
but that feels uncomfortable. Go do it anyways. Do it anyways. Like, you belong there, or else you wouldn't desire it in the first place. Right? Like,
Absolutely.
I remember even the very first time I had a desire like to have money, like generations, like many generations before me, like poverty. And I remember stepping into, going to a mall one time and going into like a Prada store, like a Gucci store. It was one of those, like, it's
High
locked
end.
and you can't even, and I
Mm.
was going, I went in there because my one girlfriend was like, I love to just go like hang out. And I'm going, I would go in there and I'm going, I don't belong here. This is so
She
like,
fancy.
yes. And like, it's $4,000 for a tank top. And like, I can't even wrap my head around this. And then one time I went in there and I went by myself and I literally just sat in there. I was just like, I walked in almost, it was like Pretty Woman, right? Where you like go in and you're like, I'm walking in like I own the joint and I'm going to look at stuff. I'm going to try it on and I'm going to. And I think honestly, I left there with like a scarf because that's probably all I could afford at the time, or like a keychain, but do it anyways. Do it anyways. Like, sit in it until you feel until the discomfort starts to dissipate. And Dave and I actually did that during COVID. We were kind of like getting sick of our house and we were like, oh, I want to go. We wanted to move. We wanted to move onto the water. We didn't think it was necessarily at that time going to be the Atlantic Ocean in Barbados, but we were
Mm-hmm.
like, we want to move somewhere. And so we started looking at all these houses and they were out of our price range. And I was like, but I was starting to really play around with this, like, get comfortable being uncomfortable because that's the only way it's going to happen. And we started going to look at these houses and Dave was going, oh, these, like, I feel like I'm wasting the real estate agent's time. I feel like I'm blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nope, I'm going into that house and I'm going to sit in that living room. And the agent's like, let me show you that. I'm like, no, I'm going to sit here. So you guys go do you. And I'm just going to be sitting right here. And I'm like this, sitting in these like very like luxurious, opulent, 50-foot ceilings, like just sitting in it, right? And my habitual was like wanted to cave to what Dave was saying, but I was like, no, like, we
Yeah.
belong here and we are gonna sit in this. And guys, it can be so uncomfortable. And
But
it's only
so
because you've never
liberating at
done
the same
it.
time.
Yes,
Yes.
you're like, that's what you're going for. Like, that's the feeling of that your soul is like, yes, now we're talking. Stop messing around with, going to look at the houses that are a reflection of your past thoughts. Like, you have to be that person and start. So when I started being $5 million Delynn, I then started making $5 million decisions, and then I had $5 million. Like, but
Yeah.
everybody puts the cart. When I have the $5 million, then I'll do this. When I lose the weight, then I'll do this. When I have the money, then I'll take the trip. And it's like, stop mixing up cause and effect. Like, it's not all of the things that you desire are the effect.
Yeah.
But there's only one cause, and that's you and your consciousness. And it's like, if you can do this consciously, then you can repeat it, then you can make it sustainable. And it just is this beautiful cycle of, I think about stuff and I get it
Yeah.
done.
I love
Yeah.
it. All
Yeah.
right. Well, thank you. We have just 3 minutes left in the show. Delynn, what else did you want to make sure we cover for today?
Honestly, you guys, I want everybody that's listening, I want you to do something this week that makes you uncomfortable. Something that's been something that you've wanted, but either it was like a person or a place, or maybe it's you've got, pictures of Lamborghinis taped to your fridge. I want you to go test drive the Lamborghini. Like, I want you to start doing something about it. Like, put yourself in the energy of that. And even if it's a group at work or like a sport you want to take up, just anything. I can guarantee if you're listening, you're going, I have that thing.
Yeah.
Just take a small bite out of it. Just, and like, not the thing is doing it unapologetically. Like, I'm going to sit in this house. I'm going to the open house at the house I don't think I can afford. And I'm going to sit here unapologetically and like sit in my own discomfort, but then ask, like, why are you even uncomfortable about it? It's just a house.
Yeah.
Why are you uncomfortable with that Lamborghini? It's just a car.
So true.
Why are you uncomfortable thinking about $5 million? It's just money. Like, it's just the stuff, right? But it's like, if you put it up on this pedestal, going back to my story, if you need to go to my Facebook story, it owns you, you don't own it.
Yep.
Done. So everybody,
Yeah.
do
Tell
one
me
thing.
again. Go ahead.
That's right. And do one thing this week. And I want you guys to actually DM me, reach out on my website. You can contact me. You can book a call. You have access to my calendar on there, and reach out on social media. And I want to hear what you guys did that was uncomfortable.
Perfect.
That
All right.
that you didn't even think you could do, and then you did it.
All right. Thank you so much. How do we contact you, Delynn? Where should we get
Awesome.
you?
Go to DelynnMiller.com and you can connect to all the places from that one spot.
Perfect. All right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Pleasure having you back as always.
bet.
And great conversation. And thank you for today, cheering me up and keeping me sunny and peppy, because I put the fake tanner on. I'm trying to be more vibrant and feeling like I'm living the beach life, which makes me really live gives me a better focus for the day, better aura today. When I said I want to get tan,
There you
Delenn's
go.
tan, but no,
There you
seriously,
go.
it makes you feel good. Thank you
It
so
does.
much.
It does.
All right. Have a
You're
great day,
welcome.
sweetheart. Thanks so much.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.